All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We have a few things to talk about, and we're going to get into all that wonderfulness here today. If I'm breathing heavily right now, I just ran upstairs because I almost wore the wrong shirt for this. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
We are underway in the postseason, the first playoff game ever played in Orange County.
It's a 1-2, Godoy. He's found a great ball. Enevoldsen, plenty of time. He smashes it home and doubles the visitors' lead. Thomas Enevoldsen.
Now Segber sprinting forward on the counterattack. A little handsy there, crosses it. Pineda, the extra pass. Seaton finishes.
It rolls down to his left and burying aside. Well taken care of by the Orange County keeper.
We'll leave it for Aiden Quinn.
He'll strike towards goal, and it's gone in! An equalizer and a winner in second half stoppage time for Orange County off the left boot of Aiden Quinn.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast and on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast that's dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans and supporters. I am your host, Ray Samora, and I am with you each and every episode as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. And joining me as he does each and every episode, we've got Dylan from County Line Coalition. Dylan, welcome, or how's it going?
It's good, Ray. I didn't just run upstairs to go put on a shirt that's more appropriate for the podcast because I don't have a webcam, so I didn't have to worry about it. But other than that, just enjoying our wonderful weather before it begins to rain again.
I still think, and I think the listeners, the watchers, the viewers, whatever we want to call it, I think we need to help you invest in a webcam so you can participate in this wonderful thing that's called a live video streaming of our podcast.
Believe me, no one's missing. My face isn't going to add anything to this, guys. You're not missing out. I'm not a model.
Well, okay. We're going to get into the swing of things. For those of you watching, listening, we're trying something new this week. Hopefully the audio is going through. Hopefully the video is going through fine. We're trying to up our production game here. At least I am on my end. I think I'm pretty soon going to have to get a helper, someone that can come out and just do basically sound and visual for us. But for the time being, we're going to try this thing out again. Hopefully everything's going through smooth on the live feed. If not, you'll be able to catch our podcast when it releases later this evening or early on tomorrow morning. But let's get into the swing of things because we have a few things that we do want to discuss, some news items that came through and whatnot. One of the things that we wanted to get through or get to early in this podcast is getting back on Harry Forrester. When we last joined you, we sort of had the announcement that day that he had signed with us, or at least that recently. I don't know if it was that day, but very recently he had signed with us. And Dylan and I just sort of tried to give you our best thoughts on Harry. And again, this was mostly just coming from what we were seeing from highlights on YouTube or just word of mouth. I guess I can speak for Dylan. I know for myself, I'm not really an expert of Harry Forrester, and I'm sure Dylan wasn't either. Right, Dylan?
You were right. Yeah, I'm not a huge Wombles fan. So,
but what we did, or at least what I did, is when I found out about the signing, I sort of went on to social media, tried to reach out to some podcasts out there in England, in Scotland, to see if anyone would be interested in sharing their thoughts on Harry Forrester, the newest signing for Orange County. And it proved to be a little bit difficult just because of the time difference. I mean, right now, as we're doing this recording, it's about 4:30 in the morning out in England. Not the best time to be able to get someone maybe to join us live on a podcast, but we did get someone that was willing to come on and join us. We recorded it late Thursday night for us, which was Friday morning out in England. And that was Chris from 9 Years Podcast. He was willing to come on and spend about a good 15 minutes with us, at least recorded minutes. We probably talked with him actually for like a half hour. and he was able to share some information, some thoughts, just some information that proved valuable, or at least will let us know a little bit more about what to expect from Harry Forrester when the season kicks off. So I'm going to go and play that clip for you. Go ahead and enjoy it. All right. So with the signing of Harry Forrester, we reached out to some podcasts out in England to see if we can get some more information on this player that most of us here in California have little to no knowledge on. And luckily for us, we were able to get some help. And I'd like to introduce Chris from 9 Years Podcast. They are the only podcast covering AFC Wimbledon out there in England. Chris, welcome to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. And for those of you listening to our podcast here, it definitely took a little bit of work here because if you don't know much about the differences of the world, there's a big time gap here. So I'm sort of recording this late in the evening. Chris joined up early in the morning out there. So again, thank you for taking the time to do that. What I want to get at right away is Harry Forrester. Most of us out here in California don't know much other than what we can see when we're looking at highlights in YouTube or whatnot. Can you give us maybe just a quick introduction or just your quick thoughts on what you saw from Harry Forrester in the season he was there playing in Wimbledon?
Yeah, Harry came to us as a quite a high-profile signing. We're quite a small team in England, so we didn't expect to get someone of that caliber. He came from Rangers in Scotland, who at the time are sort of in their top league, where we're in the sort of third league in our country. So it was a surprise that he came to us on loan. Because we borrow, the loan system in the UK is very much you can borrow players from other teams for either a year or half a year, and we got him for a year. And he came to us, and he came with very high regards. He once had a trial at Ajax in Amsterdam, and they're very high up there in the Champions League in Europe. And he came to us. He was very fast. He's got a good turn of pace on him, and he's got a shot. He only scored a few goals for us, but what he did score was very important. And actually, you could argue he kept us in the division that season. But he's a very quick player, very committed. He sometimes likes to take one touch too many, if that makes sense. He can attack like it's going out of fashion, but then he'll get into positions to score, but we'll just overthink it. So he'll take one too many touches. But he's very quick. He's very skillful. He's got a lot of pace. I think it'll be a very good signing for you.
That's exciting to hear. When you look up his information, some sites will list him as a winger, some sites will list him more as an attacking midfield. When he was with you guys, what was his primary role on the team or position on the team on the pitch?
He was mainly attacking midfield, but more sort of out on the left, as it were. He's very good at linking up play. He can take the ball in midfield and just run with it, and sometimes that works. Unfortunately, our setup didn't really use him to his best because we sometimes avoid our midfield completely. I don't know if you have a long ball in America. I don't know if you know what that is, but booting it from the keeper up to the strikers is normally what we do. So we missed him out sometimes. But when he did get on the ball, he was very good.
And so you mentioned sort of pace, and he has a pretty decent shot. Are there any like weaknesses or just maybe areas that fans may be concerned if they saw that on a weekly basis or see him out there? Are there things that maybe fans should be looking out for and maybe seeing if he's grown from when he was with you guys?
Yeah, make sure you've got a good defender behind him. His tackling back sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. He doesn't get back quick enough, maybe. But other than that, he's good. He's a good lad, and he's a nice guy. I mean, sometimes I volunteer. I help out at the club, and had a couple of chats with him when he was there. And he's a really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Well, I guess luckily for Orange County, as far as we know, we've got actually a pretty solid and what seems to be growing as a deep midfield setup, both attacking and some more defensive-minded midfielders. So hopefully there's a slot that we can work him out there. And with that type of depth, maybe, you have the rotation. We can maybe not have to rely on him as the sole provider. I don't know if you follow much USL or know anything about our team, but we actually had a pretty good attacking midfielder last season who's signed back and returned with us, which, for fans that listen to us and know the USL, it's very rare to get some get players staying with one team for long periods, which is interesting. But when you have that option and hopefully that pairing with Aiden Quinn on our team with Harry Forrester, that might be awesome.
Yeah, I did do a bit of research on the team.
Is there any like moment from when he was when he was with you guys that you noticed, or was there like this like highlight moment you can think of, or you can possibly remember? Maybe a goal that he scored, or just maybe a run of play that he made at any point, or is that
quite
a little difficult to think of?
No, it's fine. At one point last season, we played a team called Northampton, which is sort of in the middle England. He scored the winning goal, and it was a very nice run and shot, and it was about halfway through the second half. And you could argue that result kept us in the division, actually. But yeah, he's like I say, when he does have a go, he'll only ever score good goals. He won't score the sort of tap-ins from a yard, but he will score good goals for you, definitely.
Yeah, good. I guess good morning to you guys.
How you doing? You're right.
Yeah, I'm good. When he was down with you guys, what was his attitude like? Did he seem like he was devoted to the cause and actually interested in playing well?
Yeah, definitely. Because he was it looked like he was having a bad time of it at Rangers in Scotland. I don't know what he fallen out with the manager, I think. So he sort of came down to us with a point to prove, what he needed to get back up on his feet, sort of thing. And he definitely gave it a go. I mean, we used him pretty much in every match that season. And you don't do that in the UK because we've got like 40 men squads, or maybe 45. And you don't play a lot of games unless you really want, you're up for it, and the manager sees that, especially with our manager. So yeah, he was definitely giving it a very good go. His attitude was definitely spot on.
All right, like a good League One level then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. League. I mean, I think League One was the lowest level he played at, like while he was here, because he was mainly Championship, and he even had a couple of spells with a Premier League club. I think Aston Villa, I think he was at, but as a kid. So you don't you don't get to that level without being half decent.
Now, I know, Chris, we were talking before we sort of went live here. We were talking about how there's some similarities with our clubs. Similar stadium size. Lower leagues in America, in England. Let our fans know a little bit about what is AFC Wimbledon. Well, what are the fans like out there? Do you guys, what do you guys call yourselves? What's the supporter group and all?
Well, I mean, how long have you got? The thing with AFC Wimbledon is we basically started the club from nothing. So we held trials in a park in Wimbledon. It was completely open. About 500 people turned up. It was in reaction to our team at the time, which was in the Championship, which is the second division in the UK, moving 70 miles away, which won't sound a lot to probably your listeners and yourselves. But for us, it's quite a big thing because we're a bit of a tiny country, and 70 miles is a long way. We own the club. We paid in money at the start to start the club up, and then it's become self-sustaining. So it makes its own money, and we've got all the money from getting to where we are. We don't really have a name, but we do call ourselves the Wombles of Wimbledon, which is actually an old children's television program from the 1970s about. This is going to sound weird, although I've seen some of your cartoons, and this might not sound too weird. It's a group of cartoon, I don't know what you call them. They kind of look like massive rats, but they're not, that collect litter on Wimbledon Common. So we call ourselves the Wombles because we're from Wimbledon. It's a unique club because I don't think any other clubs in England in the professional leagues, so we're talking the top four, that own their own club. We run it and we make the major decisions on it. So that's different. We're just all completely mad. We set up in the part-time, totally non-professional league. So we had people who had full-time jobs would come and just play for us on a Saturday. And we used to play in fields at the back of sports centres and stuff like that. And when I say sports centres here, I mean like a shed next to a field. The first league game we ever played, which was 2002, we sat and watched the game on hay bales, which is literally just bales of straw around a pitch. And there were 3,000 of us there, which is compared to that team's usual attendance of 69. So you can imagine what that was like. It looked like a county fair. It was madness. So we played in the non-leagues, as we call it here. So the guys who have full-time jobs and then come and play on Saturday for about, it was 8 years, and then in the 9th year we got promotion into the professional leagues. So we've been going at it for some time, but it's been good fun up to now.
I mean, that's an amazing story of how you get your team sort of taken away from you guys, and you guys just persevere, say, hey, the heck of it, we're gonna throw in our own money, we're gonna start up our own club, we're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up. And now you're up there in the professional leagues. What are you guys in League One right now?
We're in League One, so we're the third professional division down from the your Chelseas and your Tottenhams and Man Uniteds. I'm sure you've heard of all of them. But it's a different world. It's a completely different world where we are. We're in a ground that's no longer really fit for league football, and we've just purchased some land back in Wimbledon, which when the move happened, the people that were in charge at the time said was impossible. So that's one in the eye for us. So we're about to start building our new ground with 11,000 in it, hopefully. It should be nice.
That's awesome. It's funny when you mention like some of those teams. Yeah, I'm the huge Premier League person. Dylan, my co-host, he's more on the lower leagues. He follows Luton Town.
So
it follows Luton. Did you say Luton?
Yeah. Vastly different fortunes this year.
Yeah, my brother, who actually sort of runs the podcast bit, I just do the Twitter. He's a Luton. He went to Luton at university, and he goes and watches them every season.
Nice.
Yeah, so there you go. It's not unheard of. What's your team in the Premier League? Dare I ask?
Mine is actually Tottenham.
Oh, that's not too bad. If you'd have said Chelsea, I'm afraid I had to cancel.
Ooh, yeah. I trust me.
Here.
I hate Chelsea.
Trust me, I'm not a huge fan of Chelsea or Arsenal. Those are my two hated teams, of course, as a Tottenham fan. And it's too bad for what happened on the match as we're recording
did they go
this.
Out, I think, did
they did in penalties.
Yeah. Oh, penalties. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, that serves you right, because and this sounds terrible, but 20 years ago, you knocked us out on away goals at the same stage. So tough. I'm not bitter though. That's the main thing.
I don't know, Dylan. If you had, I know we sort of swayed away from Harry Forrester for a minute. I don't know if you had any other questions you wanted to maybe find out, any information on Harry Forrester.
I imagine you probably had most of it covered about actual stuff. I was going to ask how Jake Jervis is doing down in
don't. All I'll say is that Luton have done us what's the best way to describe it? When we said to a Luton fan who's based in the UK, we've got Jake Jervis on loan, he just started laughing.
Oof.
And I didn't know how to take that. And the fact that he's missed two open goals from a yard in the space of about 5 games has really rankled. He's just not putting the effort in. He's not a very good guy, I'm afraid. Can we have Harry back instead? You can have Jake and we'll have Harry. That sounds fair?
No.
I'd still rather have Harry.
And the funny thing is, I'm just totally lost in this whole conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I don't follow Luton or Wimbledon, so I'm like, okay, go for it.
No, Jake is a player we borrowed under the loan system from Luton, and he's not good. Is the best way I can describe him. But anyway, you pays your money, you takes your choice,
Nah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with us, Chris.
No, it's cool.
About Harry or just about soccer in general out there in England.
many things. No,
I'm sure if I really open it up to you, you could probably do a nice full, hour and a half, 2 hours.
You guys have got to go to bed at some point, man. No, it's all good. It's fun.
Yeah, no problem. Let's do this. Let our listeners know if anyone's interested in learning more about AFC Wimbledon, English soccer, or listening to your wonderful podcast out there. Let our listeners know where they can find you guys.
Yeah, we're the At 9 Years podcast, and it's at 9YRS podcast. We do episodes every Thursday. So if it was Thursday morning, you'd probably get them late Wednesday night. You see, I can't, time differences. I can't do it. We only ever talk about Wimbledon. However, we do. My brother is obsessed with wrestling as well. So if you guys do like your wrestling, he talks about that on occasion. Yeah, we're the only podcast about Wimbledon because the club didn't want to do one or didn't do one in time, and we beat them to it. But that's another story. Yeah, it's great fun. I mean, we've actually, one of our patrons, would you believe, we actually have a stand named after John Green. He's actually major contributor to us as well. Not major one, but he puts his money in. So he's apparently going to do a film about us. So watch this space, about the rise from nothing to where we are now. So look out for that as well.
See, the similarities just continue with this, because I think Dylan and I are sort of in a similar spot where either we beat the club to it, or just the club really didn't want to do it, and we went through it, you know, and
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
You should say you did. I was late.
You know, it's one of those things where I jumped on it, and you know, I'm sure the club's fine with it because we give them some free promotion. You know, we get to, you know, go and act as media at the matches, talk to players, break, you know, try and break some news here and there when we get a chance. I think Dylan's getting a little bit better at that than I am, but no, I appreciate it. And then is there any like, do you guys have a website, or is there, you know, your social media? I don't know if you provided that.
Yes,
sorry,
it's the same. No, it's all right. It's the same website address as well, 9yrspodcast.com.
Okay, perfect.
It's all under that banner. But yeah, it's I was going to say we'll have to return the favor at some point. Get you on ours.
Hey, you know, I'm sure Dylan or myself, we'd be more than welcome to do that. I mean, we both love the game of soccer, you know, and we're part of this minority here in America where we love the USL. We love the lower league of soccer because you just one of our favorite hashtags to use is support local soccer or support local, just because you know, it's just one of those things. And your team, your story is such a neat thing. You know, fans check out their podcast. It's an awesome story and some great stuff. And by the way, you know, again, Chris was willing to work out the timing conflicts here between California and England and make it work out. So we always appreciate that.
That's all good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That was Chris from the 9 Years podcast, the only AFC Wimbledon podcast that you can find on the internet. So once again, thank you, Chris. All right, so that was the interview that Dylan and I did. Again, that was last Thursday here in California. It was a great chat. It's a fun thing when you get to speak with soccer fans around the world, especially when you get like the lower level soccer. That's, you know, sort of where we fall here in Orange County with Orange County Soccer Club, and most clubs in USL fall into that more grassroots soccer, lower local soccer. So when you're talking to a team in the third division out in England, they're in a similar situation as us. It's you know, smaller stadiums, less budget for players and travel and whatnot. So it was just awesome to have him on and learn a little bit about not just Harry Forrester, but about AFC Wimbledon and just sort of how that club came to be on that. All right. Dylan.
Tired, I think you could tell when I hopped in because I was a bit late, but my God, listening back on it, I was barely awake. I remember being ready to go to bed around 8:00 and then staying up for this.
I'm like, Dylan, do you want to get on at like 10:30 at night with someone who's willing to wake up at 6 a.m. out in England to talk with us about Harry Forrester? He's like, sure. And it was cool. You didn't get to hear that in the clip, but we had some audio issues in there. I asked a question, and then all of a sudden my audio went out, but the recording was still going on. I couldn't hear what the response was. And I sort of had to ask Dylan, just, hey, Dylan, because he had just jumped on midstream there. While Dylan asked a question, and it definitely went well. He didn't ask anything that I had already asked. So that worked out pretty well for everything there. So again, I want to thank the guys, all the guys over at 9 Years podcast, and especially Chris for taking some time out to help us learn a little bit more about Harry Forrester, and again about AFC Wimbledon. I think Dylan and I have both sort of. I know Dylan has Luton Town as his, you know, pure lower league English team, but I think AFC Wimbledon has like a little bit. At least I'm a little bit on their side now after them joining us, and then of course they had a magical weekend in I can't remember which cup, the FA Cup or one of the cups.
Yes, Yeah, knocking
One of the
out
Cups.
West Ham 4-2, and like commandingly.
Yes, it was.
Commandingly as
Yeah,
well.
it shouldn't. I think it shouldn't even have been that. I mean, it's not even as close as that sounds. And 4-1 or 4-2 doesn't ever really sound that close. So
Sound close. Yeah.
So for those of you listening, if you're still listening after we went on for about 15 minutes non-Orange County Soccer Club thing, thanks for still listening. It's one of those things we just we want to take that opportunity when we have it in that situation, but we got to get back into Orange County. And one of the big things we learned earlier today, I think many Orange County Soccer Club fans were a little disappointed when this news broke. Indy 11 broke the news earlier today that Thomas Enevoldsen is returning to the USL, but he's going to be playing for Indy 11, and he will no longer be on the pitch for Orange County Soccer Club when the season starts in just over a month. Dylan, what are your thoughts on? I know you were sort of following him on social media. You saw that he was really working hard. What do you think of this signing for Indy 11 and just sort of the loss of Enevoldsen for Orange County?
I'll start with Orange County. It's obviously a huge loss, losing a guy that scored 20 goals and had 10 assists last season, and losing a guy who's clearly way too good for this league. That's a big loss for us. It's a bit of a big loss for the West as well, though other teams' fans are really, I know Tulsa and Phoenix fans are really pleased that that he won't be back. But in terms of for Indy, it's a bit weird. He's going into a already stacked offensive roster. Our good friend Richard Rainwater updated his lineup, and he's got Enevoldsen up top in a 4-3-3 with Eugene Starikov out on the left wing and Dane Kelly out on the right, and then an attacking midfielder in Illich. And that's a really stacked, really potent offense. Of course, Enevoldsen, like I said, 20 goals, 10 assists last season. Starikov in 19 games had 6 goals and an assist. Illich played 32 games, had 13 goals and 10 assists. Dane Kelly was with DC United for most of last year, but only played 1 match. Played 4 matches with the Kickers out in Richmond, scored 1 goal. But he was the 2017 Golden Boot as well with 18 goals. So I think, and this is going out on a limb here, but I think Indy 11's trying to score some goals this year. I think that's a fair assessment.
Do you think?
I still think that Enevoldsen's going to be the best player on that list. He played every minute for us last season, and I imagine that he's going to demand to do the same in Indy. And I'm not. I think it's mostly coming down to a money situation there, and I imagine they had the money to pay him. And if you're faced with playing in a league that you're too good of, and not planning on sticking around, you might as well go get paid a bunch of money. So I understand why he went, but it sucks. Didn't feel super great when I first read the news. I was like, oh man. And then you text me about 5 minutes later and I was like, yeah, all right, just pile it on. Who else is next?
Yeah.
I
was a little disappointed on that. Yeah, I was a little sad when I saw that. I know the hope wasn't like high that he was going to return to Orange County. I think we were talking about it over the last few episodes that potentially he's looking for a good club out in Europe to go to. I guess I'm just sort of disappointed that he's back in the USL and it's not with Orange County. I was hoping that if he did come back to the USL, Orange County would still be his club. But you got to understand, probably Indy's willing to pay him a little bit more. Indy's willing to, or maybe he's seeing that as more of an opportunity or shot to get into MLS, or he wants that second chance of that. So, yeah, it's gonna be weird. Luckily, unless we make it to the championship game and Indy makes it, we don't really have to watch him at least live or see him hurt our team. But definitely, I guess definitely sad that he's not going to be there. Well, let's move on. Let's talk more, I guess, a little bit about roster, or at least we don't have any official roster news to share with you. But Dylan did notice on social media the other day that a player was seen in an image practicing or training with the club. I'm going to let you, Dylan, speak on that.
Yeah, and he should be a familiar, at least, profile of the face from what we saw. In 2017, it was Jerry Van Wolfgang, knee Jerry Van Eyck. Looks like he's back in Orange County. It's unofficial as to whether or not he's under contract yet, but he does fill our need for a left winger. And there were some hints about some roster moves that we received from Oliver Weiss and trying to think of who else. But kind of called the club out on Twitter yesterday. And although they haven't announced anything, I imagine his visa stuff is being processed right now. I did get a bit of stick from Matt Fonseca. So I imagine that's about as official as it's going to get until that visa work is complete and he is announced as a signing. But he's a strong, quick left winger. So that fulfills a need we have. And I imagine he'll work quite well into Cloutier's system. In addition, he's got a wonderful right foot for free kicks. So that gives us just another option for those shots in addition to Aiden Quinn.
So a couple of things here. So if training is sort of in a public area, people are able to get pictures, or whoever shared that picture, I don't know where that picture came from exactly. But it's not something that like is top secret if he's out there training in a public area with the team. Like you said, probably something to do with the visa or getting a contract finalized with him. I know when we got a chance to speak with the front office people there for Orange County, they hinted that there's probably going to be some signings coming up, some good signings to announce. Just hold tight. Have to work out the final details, this and that. So we're definitely excited to see what they have coming for us. And this is definitely potentially one of those signings. And my second thing is maybe now that he's going to be on the roster, now I can actually get a handshake and not get.
You're really hung up about that. That's like the third or fourth time that you've brought this up since we started talking about him.
I don't know if we've ever brought it. Have we brought it up on the podcast?
Not on the podcast, but
yeah.
Earlier tonight, right before we started, on Friday, and brought it up. You really hung up on this. We'll make sure he gets you one.
For those of you that are like wondering what I'm talking about there, it's after the playoff match where Orange County knocked out Reno. He was walking out, back in the locker room, and I just sort of held out my hand to try and tell him good game. And probably not the best time to try and get a handshake from the opposing team, but I was trying to just be a good person, tell him good job out there, But whatever. I'm just sort of hanging. I'm just sort of. Dylan was right next to me, and he even laughed at me when he saw that. I was just, fully extended handshake and just left hanging there. But it is what it is, and I understand the circumstance. I just sort of joke around with it. I don't harbor any feelings. It's just one of those things that.
Just try not to cry on air. Everyone knows you really care. Just don't cry on air. Our ratings will go down.
I can't really cry on command anyway, so. Yeah. So no official statements for any new signings, although we've been hinted at some signings that are coming this way. Or that are going to be coming in, and we were hinted that there are going to be some good signings. So this may be one of those ones that are the good signing, or maybe this is just a signing and there's still some more good signings, or at least some quality signings from what we were hinted at. And where we sort of got some of that information is we hung out at the Hilton in Costa Mesa on Friday. And
make it sound weirder. We were there for a press conference.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and Dylan were just hanging out with the front office. We're hanging out with the front office at the Hilton in Costa Mesa, just randomly. No, we were there I was getting to it, Dylan. Dang. Hold your horses. We were there for the Vissel Kobe press conference. For those of you that have been hiding under a rock for a while, Vissel Kobe's out here to play some scrimmage matches or friendlies, I guess is what we call them in soccer, against some American competition, mostly MLS, but there is one USL team they are playing, I believe, for sure, and that's Orange County. And we were there representing Orange and Black Soccer Cast in Orange County. And although didn't get a chance to ask any questions to the players that were available, it was Iniesta, David Villa, Podolski, and I can't remember the other guy's name. And I guess if I pulled up my mail, I could check it. But players and coach and the coach from Vissel Kobe answered some questions for the media, and we ran into a couple of front office guys for Orange County, including the GM, and got to speak a little bit. But Vissel Kobe, let's talk about it, because that match is coming up a week from tonight at Championship Soccer Stadium. Dylan was actually at the match last night where Vissel Kobe took on Columbus Crew, and former Orange County Soccer Club great Alex Cronali. Dylan, what what are your thoughts on just sort of that match, Vissel Kobe, and what to expect next week?
Actually, I'm going to start with the pitch. And although it is crowned a little bit, and noticeably crowned a little bit, it is grass, and entirely grass, and actually looks pretty decent.
So the dirt patches are gone?
Yeah, but there's also only been like 70 competitive minutes played so far. So we'll see at the end of maybe at the end of the preseason how it's looking before the real abuse begins. But beyond that, it was actually pretty decent. The Crew requested 2 35-minute halves instead of a full 90. Vissel Kobe obliged. And then from that point on, it was just kind of it's about as preseason it gets. Teams trying to figure out what they're trying to do, players trying to earn starting positions. And neither team looked great, per se. Vissel Kobe is obviously on another level with 3 World Cup winners. But still, the Crew held their own decently. They were a little shaky at times, and we're basically lucky to have drawn 0-0. But it was a decent match, somewhat exciting, even though at a time like this, basically everyone that's going to be there is going to be there because Andres Iniesta and David Villa and Lucas Podolski are there, and so they're there to get their Barcelona shirts signed. Or I saw a guy with Atletico Madrid jersey, and I was like, why are you getting the Barcelona legend to sign this? But whatever. So, all that fun stuff. There's soccer. It's back. It's not ideal, but it's back. It's worth watching. Oh, and some Crew people wanted some live tweets. So I saw that and dutifully obliged. So now
I saw you just tweeting up numbers.
Yeah, I didn't. I only recognized.
Didn't get a presser or anything?
No, and I only recognized Alex Cronali's number, and then learned Fabinho because their right back said his name, so I picked it up there. But yeah, no, I feel like I've made some friends with some Columbus Crew people.
So how did Alex Cronali look out there?
He did not look good for an MLS level, that is. He looked shaky, and I think he's one of those guys that's really trying to prove he's ready for the MLS, even though he's still young. The defense was caught flat-footed, and obviously Cronali is a part of that. They were caught flat-footed a few times, himself included. He was a little bit late to a challenge, caught the man, went in hard too, picked up a yellow for that, and then retaliatory challenge, 2 minutes later, went the same way, but it was a little bit softer in the air, and Cronali stayed down for a minute, so there were a couple people heckling him in the stands that were right there watching it, which was pretty funny. But yeah, if we look at Cronali's performance, it's going to basically be how everyone's is. It's a little bit shaky. It's the first really competitive thing they've done all season, so everyone's just getting into the swing of things for now.
Yeah, I think the first game is always going to be like that one match that, it isn't going to look great. Players are just, getting back into shape, let alone, soccer form and whatnot. So that's understandable. Interesting that you have this matchup between basically two teams that have nothing to do with Orange County other than a lone player from last year and Alex Cronali. Other than that, it's, pulling in just random soccer fans. And unfortunately, it's in an area that seems to be difficult. But, again, very first sort of match for the 2019 preseason. And looking forward to what's going to happen next week when Orange County gets a chance. I'm sure for many players in Orange County, this is going to be sort of this dream opportunity, this dream match. I'm sure there's some players on Orange County that I have idolized some of the players that they will be taking the pitch with next Tuesday. It'll be interesting to see how that match goes. I'm excited for it. I don't know how many of you listening or how many Orange County fans are excited to see their team, their 2019 team for the first time and get an opportunity to see some world-class soccer greats at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, all the players should be used to it, playing against Drogba the last 2 seasons. But I think it's just another one of those opportunities, and they're going to be focused on earning their spots in the squad as well, and trying to stack up against a higher quality team. Obviously, those guys are getting paid a lot. There's no other reason for them to be in Japan. They could go play in any league, and teams would be happy to have them. But there's got to be, there's got to be money behind them all playing at Vissel.
You think they make a lot?
I'm sure they make a lot. Rakuten's kind of a huge company. And if you go to the stadium, you'll see all of the advertising boards are Rakuten boards right now. So, yeah, they're getting paid a lot, but at least maybe it's just Podolski. I know he's an intense personality, but that fire for him, despite whatever he's making and his age, that fire for him is still there. There was a late challenge, and he was one-on-one with the keeper when the ref called it back as a foul instead of giving the advantage, and Podolski lost his head for a minute and swore at the ref a bunch, told him to give a yellow, and then kicked a ball through the advertising board, which was amazing. So if you're looking for some intensity, it'll still be there. It's obviously they're here for business and to kind of get tuned up for the season, but there's still that drive. They're still professionals, so that'll be exciting. That'll give us something to cheer for.
Well, and I think, at least for Vissel Kobe, when we were at the press conference on Friday, you got that sense from the players that this is a serious trip to America to prepare for their season. They are looking forward to the challenges and building that camaraderie with their team, and hopefully Orange County will be able to put up a good fight against them. The only question or the only concern I may have at this point is who's going to be the goalkeeper for Orange County, at least as of now. We still are not quite certain who the starting goalkeeper is going to be for the club. It'd be nice to sort of have someone in place and get them some training this week before that match to just give them an opportunity to be ready for it. Maybe it's going to have to be Cervantes in that preseason match. Maybe there's one of those quality signings that we've heard about that are just, waiting on finalization of the whatever it's going to be to join the team. Maybe that's just the one scary part heading to it is we have one goalkeeper, and it's
we only have one center back too, and you need 2 of those. So unless we're going to play like a 3-5-2, which we can't do against a team like Vissel Kobe.
No, that's true. But I still would feel a little bit more safe. Or if you had to pick one or the other, I'd say we need a goalkeeper over a center back, because you can sort of throw one of our fullbacks in at center back type role just as an emergency pinch. But maybe it'll be a good opportunity just to get to see what Cervantes has and see where he is in his progression for what he can do potentially here in the near future.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see him play. Probably, I don't know if it's going to be 45 or 35 minutes. I'm assuming it probably, or maybe it'll be like 3:30s like we had a couple times last year in the preseason. Assuming it's 2:45s, we'll probably see Cervantes play 45. And then we'll also probably see, we've got a couple, I'm assuming they're on trials right now. There was a guy who was training with the team last year around the time that in early August, when we were playing Swope Park. He was out warming up with Andre Rawls and Casey Byers. And I recognized his face in one of the videos that the club put on Instagram a few days ago. So I imagine that he's on trial again. I recognized him. I imagine he'll probably get some time too, if not the other guy as well. It basically comes down to who they're feeling confident in as those days wear on, because I doubt we're gonna get let's say like a lone goalkeeper in from the MLS in the next few days. We've got 6 weeks to do that, I'd say, and hopefully it'll be Andre Rawls again. But
oh man, I think we're not the only ones that are hoping that's the one of the big names we're gonna see rejoining the team. But yeah, I mean, I get it. There's other goalkeepers training with the team, but there's been no official announcements as far as a roster spot, again, other than Aaron Cervantes. Again, I'm actually excited to just sort of see what he can do actually in a match. We get a lot of opportunity to watch him, warming up prior to the match at halftime. Looks like he's got some definite skills out there, and he's he's at least somewhat decent, or so pretty good, because he gets called up to the USL under 19 squad or under 21 squad, one of those squads.
USL? Are you sure it wasn't the?
Did I say USL? USA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Dylan, man. Gosh, that's just one letter. But I guess the funny thing, I was looking on Facebook today. This is just sort of random. A friend of mine posted an article from a newspaper talking about DMX is getting out of jail. And
What?
in the
What? Is this a soccer podcast?
well, no, because it's just talking about the one letter, right? So it's the headline was DMX is being released from jail or whatever it is, and the image was an image of the rapper DMC from Run DMC, in sort of the what does one letter mean? What's the difference between DMX and DMC? Just like USL and USA. You want to call me out on it? You're going to learn.
That's okay. That's why this happened. Wow. Thank God you pointed that out, because I was really lost.
Yeah, but again, excited just to see the whole team, see what type of talent is sort of hidden there. There's probably a few players out there that are not on contract that are still the club is still trying to make a decision on, and this will be an opportunity to see what those players can do against some quality competition.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be at training tomorrow, so I'm sure they'll probably ask that I don't say who's there, but I'll keep an eye out of who's looking and good and whatever they're doing, and if I see any familiar faces.
You can let me know if I should not worry about goalkeeper if you see anything great out there on that front, or center back for our fans. Hopefully, yeah, but it'll be good just over the next few weeks to see the players are going to be added to the roster. It's going to be great to see what this team just sort of looks like. And I'm sure if you're like me, as an Orange County fan, you've been itching for some Orange County Soccer Club matches, games, a chance to be back at the stadium with your fellow supporters. And this will be the first opportunity really to do that. So I know I will be there. Dylan should be there.
Of course I'm going to be there. I want soccer into my veins, you guys.
Oh, other than that, any other Orange County based information you can think of, Dylan, or is it time to get into our typical end of episode information?
No, other than just look out for, obviously, because it's the preseason and we need a full squad, but look out for a few, I think it was 4 is what was suggested, new signings in the next, all right, we'll say 2 weeks. Maybe by the end of next week, we'll get another big announcement, like when we were signed Hume and Amico and Wasansa. Hopefully we get another one of those. But yeah, I imagine there's going to be another good few players who either sign or hopefully re-sign with the club.
Perfect. Let's get into it. Sure, random thought, and I'm sure it's something to read for our listeners, Dylan, but go for it.
I've actually I've taken a bit of time away from reading this week so far.
So you become more American?
No, because I've actually spent more time exercising.
I'm joking.
I definitely have not become more American.
Ooh, okay.
I'll still pull punches.
If you're still listening, thanks for still listening, folks.
Anyway. No, I've actually been watching a little bit of I watched some soccer earlier today, and
I thought you were going to say like keeping up with the Kardashians or something.
No, I'll get to that in a second. My Luton Town are currently 5 points clear at the top of League One, going for back-to-back promotions. Just like Niall McCabe from Louisville City, formerly from Louisville City. Imagine winning promotion. It's a foreign thought for us American soccer fans, but it'd be pretty sweet.
I'd love it.
It looks like Luton's about to go up into the championship on a fine run of form. Very exciting 3-2 win today against second place Portsmouth, who some of you might remember from playing in the Prem 7-ish years ago. Other than that, I've been watching a decent bit of In-Betweeners, which I can recommend to those of you who are not easily offended and are older, and Peaky Blinders, which I'd also recommend that to those of you who don't have an issue with violence and are also a little bit older. So yeah.
So basically, you're making some recommendations for our listeners who watch CBS. Sure. Just say.
Are
sure.
you throwing a punch at me because I happen to watch?
I'm sure you do. You're like this older spirit, man, Dylan. You do stuff that not many 21-year-olds typically do. So,
man, if you felt my back when I wake up in the morning, you'd understand.
No, that's okay. Oh, I don't know what to talk about.
You had like 2 minutes. I was giving you so much time.
Yeah, typically I jump into Tottenham talk, but I just do not want to talk about them right now.
Oh, what happened to them this weekend? No one cares. It's okay, right?
Yeah,
It's okay.
Don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right.
But I just let's get back into watching stuff. I just started watching Ozark on Netflix, I think is what that's on. Pretty interesting. Watched the first episode, thinking about watching more of it. Well, yeah, hopefully everything worked well with this feed here. Again, trying something new, trying to add a little bit of production value into what you're watching here on this feed, and hopefully everything worked out great. Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, for the last few weeks, we've been going pretty long. I think last episode was like an hour and 15 or 20 minutes.
15,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so to keep it under an hour this week, hopefully we're not disappointing some of you that like to just listen to our voices for long periods of time while you're doing whatever.
If you're one of those people, just give me a phone call and I'll just chat you up for hours about.
What's that phone number, Dylan?
Yeah, if you
don't say it, man. You don't want your phone number out there in public like that. My phone number is out there in public, and I get spam calls probably 10 times a day. So
nice. No, if you probably have it if you need it. So
if you have Dylan's number and you just want to hear more of his voice, give him a call. He's willing to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm lonely because school hasn't started again yet.
Hey, you got like another week and a half, right?
Another week and a half. My God, someone please give me something to do.
Last thing I guess to talk about is I bought my plane ticket to fly up to Reno for the match. So I'll be at their opening day to cover the match, maybe do some sort of quick pregame something or other while the players are warming up. We'll figure that out. But yeah, I got that. Who else is heading out to the match? Let us know on Twitter if you're going to be heading out to Reno for that opening match. It'll be awesome. I'll have to reach out to our buddy John and figure out what is there to do. Like, what's the ultimate 2-hour Reno experience? Since that's about all the time I'll have before the match starts. Yeah, I think that's good to go. I think we've covered what we wanted to cover. Next week is the Vissel Kobe match. We're still trying to figure out how we're going to play that as far as our episode. Maybe we'll just do a quick random, Facebook Live from our phones just to sort of discuss the match and any other news that's happening between now and then. But want to once again thank Chris from 9 Years Podcast for joining us to talk about Harry Forrester and AFC Wimbledon. Of course, Dylan, thank you for being on here every episode to help people not have to just hear my voice for 60 minutes.
Give you some stick for missaying things and all that sorts of.
It's become, at this point, if I don't missay things, then it just wouldn't be an Orange and Black Soccer Cast, I think. Although I think this episode I did decently well. I think I just messed up USA instead of USL instead. I mean, there might have been a couple of things, but yeah. So we're going to end it. We're going to end it there. So for Dylan, this is Ray, the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out. Podcasts are a great way for your business to advertise to target audiences. And the Orange and Black Soccer Cast is looking for advertisers like you. If you're interested in advertising your business on our podcast, please email us at info@orangeandblacksoccercast.com. The Orange and Black Soccer Cast has joined forces with many other soccer podcasts, many of them focusing on the USL. We're now part of the Beautiful Game Network, bgn.fm.